Hi there, I'm John Weeks, Instructional Assistant Professor here at Texas A&M University.
Hi all, my name is Kyle Murphy. I'm a Senior Mathematics Major here at Texas A&M University.
The activity that we have laid in front of us here is Pop-Tac-Toe. What is this game, you may ask? Well, it's tic-tac-toe, but with a popping twist. Let's get started. Kyle here is going to start by placing a piece in one of the squares here on this checkerboard.
Let's see. I think here will be fine.
Oh, okay. What I'm going to do next is I am going to place a pawn somewhere on the checkerboard as well. So I'll place right over here. Doesn't matter if it's a red square or a black square. It can be any square here on this 8x8 checkerboard.
All right, I guess I'll go here then.
Oh, an interesting choice. What I like about this choice is that it is now going to be a popping turn before we get started with what I'm going to place. Here's how pops work. Notice that this pawn that Kyle just placed is adjacent to two other pawns, one of his, one of mine. Regardless of what kind of piece there is, the next thing that's going to happen before I take my turn is that this pawn is going to move in one square in the direction away from this pawn that was just placed. The same thing's going to be true for my pawn. It's going to move one square away from the position in which the most recent pawn was placed. When I take my turn, I can take advantage of that fact. I can now say, oh, I would like to place right here. If I placed right there, then Kyle would have a pawn that goes in this direction. There's no other pawns to pop, so that one's good to go.
I can do the same, of course. So I think I'll place right here, which will move your pawn one square away.
Now, I don't have to place right next to another pawn if I don't want to. For example, I could place a pawn right here and it would be good to go. The goal of the game here is, by the way, to get 3 in a row, just like Pop-Tac-Toe. So right now, we're not in a position where we can get 3 in a row. Kyle, you might ask, can I place a pawn right here and get 3 in a row? No, because popping has to take place first. Popping takes place before we try and go through to decide who wins.
Since I can't win by going here, what I'll do instead is I'll try to set up my future win by going right here. This will pop your piece one square away. However, it'll also pop my piece one square right here, placing these two pawns right next to each other.
And that's scary for me, because if I were to place a pawn right here, then this pawn, which is adjacent to it, would look to the square over here and say, oh, well, there's something already there. So it tries to go, it can't really pop. So because of that, these two are stuck together unless I break them apart somehow. I can't break them apart like this because this pawn has no direction to go through and get popped. So if Kyle takes advantage of that fact, Kyle gets 3 in a row next turn. I have to break apart this 2 in a row. Well, I think I can do that in a way that also sets up my advantage. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to place right here. Oops, it dropped. I'm going to place this right here. This not only breaks apart Kyle's 2 in a row, you can see how these two pop in one direction away from where this pawn was just placed. So now they're separate. It also is going to pop my pawn, which is over here, over in this direction. And now I have 2 in a row, just diagonally over here.
Well, that was quite the move. I have to play defense now. There's nothing else I can do besides break apart his 2 in a row unless I want to lose next turn. So I guess I'll have to do that. If I go here, this will move and this will move. And that takes care of the 2 in a row. It'll also push my pawn out to the edge of the board, which isn't great, but it's what I have to do.
Definitely. Okay, let's think about what I need to do here. Again, I'm trying to get to 3 in a row here, so this pawn is not going to work because popping is going to take place after the fact. So let's see if I can set myself up pretty well here. Well, I've got a couple of interesting moves. The best move that I can think of is I would like to pop right here. So I think I will. I would like to go ahead and pop this one in one direction and set up 2 in a row again, and then pass the turn to Kyle.
All right, well, I see a very unique move here. I'll do this. By doing that, I can break up your 2 in a row. And I can set this up. I pop this one square. I have 2 in a row here. And I'll pop this one square. And now I have 2 in a row here.
I'm a little frightened now. This does not look good. because I would now, in order to not lose next turn, have to break up two in a rows, unless I could somehow win some other way. That does not look very good to me. I am sorry for all of the fans at home. This is going to be a little bit tricky for me. So, is there a way that I could break up these two in a rows at once? Why don't we use a little mathematics? There's only so many places that I could place this pawn. I could look to see if there is a range of influence maybe around which of these pawns, squares that I place on, would shift around these two pawns in order to break up this two in a row. Well, if I look around to see what that range of influence looks like, it looks like it's around in here. Well, if I'm going to break up these two in a row, if I look at all of the squares where I could break up these two in a row, it's probably around in here. What I'm noticing about those two regions is that there is no intersection between those two regions. So I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. I don't quite see a way for me to be able to win this game. If we were in chess, then I can just very politely concede my game at this point. But in order to go through with the rest of this game, just to see what would take place and to convince those of you who aren't convinced by the math, I will go ahead now and place a pawn right here to break up this two in a row to see what Kyle might do next.
And, well, it was a good effort, John. But I'm afraid I'll have to take my win. If I go here, this pawn, in fact, will pop. So I'm not going to get 4 in a row, but I'll still get 3. And that's all that matters.
Kyle, I saw what you were trying to do, trying to really one-up me with a 4 in a row. Unfortunately, it's not to be, but nevertheless, good game.
Good game.
Very good.